Anarchy. The trouble with the slew of games that come out in November is that, as anyone who has ever worked retail will know, there's not enough time to play everything that you want to get to, and I'm blaming that for the lateness of all these reviews. So, I will begin with the game I was most anticipating, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. First off, as far as I can tell, the subheading doesn't really mean anything. This is the problem with the game, in this case, New Order, that ends like there'd be no sequel. And frankly, I'm vaguely insulted about BJ being alive at the beginning of this one. For what it's worth, this game takes off from the last game, where the world has been taken over by technologically advanced Nazis, and you are part of a resistance movement that is surviving on a stolen Nazi submarine, who saved the main character in a very oops, wait, no, he is alive sort of way, when it is attacked by Nazi's new psychotic leader, who BJ disfigured in the last game. And I really have to say that the main villain is so cartoonishly evil, it makes it impossible for me to take her seriously. I get that they need to make us hate the villains, but seriously, they're already Nazis. Everything she does is so over the top and how evil she is, it kinda becomes meaningless. There's even a scene later in the game that includes Hitler that would be considered way too overdone if it had been making fun of anyone but Hitler. I like the characters actually, but I can't really get invested in their stories individually. Characterization seems a lot weaker this time around. It's like we're just supposed to know who all these characters are, or at least remember them, and that is asking a lot given how long ago the first game was. In the first game, they were a lot more sympathetic and believable. This time, we've kind of boiled them all down into rough stereotypes. And at least for the first little while I was playing the game, I found BJ impossible to understand without subtitles. And it gets very tiresome of him constantly pontificating to himself about life, death, and all these higher things when he's slaughtering hundreds of people. I get, again, that they're Nazis, but it just comes across as being very insincere. On the gameplay side of things, your character moves very fast in this game, and so it takes a lot of getting used to, which caused me to run into a lot of collision issues. I mean, the main character can clear a room in a single quick sprint, but the game forces you into a lot of stealth sections, which completely fuck the pacing up. BJ is the same kind of movement the Marine in Doom had, but will begin spawning an endless number of Nazis if you get spotted. Which brings me to instant alerts. I'm so sick of playing stealth games, where if you even so much as sort of get spotted, every enemy from here to the Berlin Wall will know exactly where the fuck you are. More than a few times I was spotted by enemies who had no line of sight on me. And all of the characters seem to tank injuries, but I guess that's just the norm here. But the armor they give you is a joke. And being the bad condition that the main character starts this game in, you're almost entirely reliant on armor for the first half of the game. And being that the stealth is such a clusterfuck, the checkpoints in this game are absolutely awful. There was more than a few times I would spawn back in at a checkpoint only to be already getting shot from about 6 different directions. Not to mention that all the side missions, or districts as they're called in this, have no autosaves. I imagine this is because they're supposed to be like little challenges, but they're all in areas you've already had to clear, so it's just annoying busy work. And the load times when you get killed can be obscene. Granted, you keep all your progress in collectibles or perks that you already got, but you have to go back in and completely redo your weapon upgrades. Granted, a handful of times this came in helpful, but not during the times where I already knew what the fuck I wanted. Going back to the stealth for a moment, you can sneak up behind enemies and use takedowns, but the takedowns leave you vulnerable to a frankly ridiculous level. I get that there has to be a risk versus reward system, but he can decap enemies with a single blow, so the overlong animations seem really unnecessary. And once you're spotted, an endless number of enemies will spawn. This is particularly annoying in areas where it simply does not make sense. There's a part right at the beginning of the game where BJ discovers there are Nazis hiding out inside the submarine that they have stolen. That means there must be only a limited number of Nazis in this area. Yet if you're spotted by one of the officers and the alarm sounds, they will never stop coming. That doesn't make any sense. And frankly, any scene where the game forces you to just hold out and fight are absolutely horrid. This game has 7 difficulty settings. 7! I was finding just playing on the 4th one to be a little obnoxious. Especially for a game that obviously wants you to run around and shoot everything like crazy and then puts you into 4th stealth sections. It frankly gets a little obnoxious. The story comes alive in the second half but then jumps the shark. and just like being a butcher in a neighborhood full of kleptomaniac, the plot loses all the stakes. It's pretty much going through the motions at this point. A lot of the scripted moments in this game are almost copy-pasted from the first, and the ending was absolute shit. I hated this game. If you have a hankering for this sort of thing, go play the original and steer clear of this execrable garbage.